Hey everybody, it's Ann Clay from Ann Clay The Primitive Home, and today I want to talk about how to age your paintings. Now this is a George Washington canvas wrap that I have. I have a whole bunch of canvas wraps on my website, www.annclaytheprimitivehome.com, and I am featuring all of these primitive antique wraps because they're really hard to find. Now when you get them, they don't look that primitive. What I do is I upload things to a certain site and you order them from me. They go through this site, they get sent to you, but they will not have a primitive look to them. They will be the primitive painting originals. And if you want to muck them up, I'm going to show you today how to muck them up. So this is George Washington. He came yesterday. You can see he's very bright, okay? There's a lot of really bright areas on here, and they come very flat. With George Washington, I've already painted on him with some heavy gel gloss. This is what it looks like. You can get it at Michael's. You can also purchase any of these items in my Amazon shop. It's amazon.com/shop/AnnClayThePrimitiveHome. And when you go to the Amazon shop, you are actually helping the channel because I get a little bit of the money from Amazon. Now that money doesn't come out of your pocket, that money comes out of Jeff Bezos's pocket. So that's a good thing. And it comes in to help support the channel to bring you more videos. So here I have the gel, and I use a brush about this size, and you gotta wash it really well because it's like a glue, so it can ruin your brush if you don't wash it out well, which I'm thinking I didn't wash this out too well. Anyway, what you do is you dip the gel in and you paint it according to the paint. So you just pretend like you're a painter. You don't really need to be a painter. This stuff goes on white, but it dries clear, and you follow the lines. So if you have fabrics, you follow the fabric lines. You follow all the lines. If you're on the face, you do it lightly, and you follow the cheek lines. On the hair, you want a little heavier grain. You follow the clothing lines. And if you have anything intricate like this, just, you know, you can do it with texture. This is your texturizer. And it makes it look so different. It right away looks more like a painting because you've got the texture that a painting would have. So right now you've upgraded it, but what you will see is that it gets shiny. So the gel can be a little bit shiny. What we want to do now is we are going to antique this, and this is really fun and easy to antique. So we get, this is my Waverly Antique wax. I also have wax. Now I bought this at Walmart, but I also have wax on my Amazon shop. In fact, anytime you want to go to Amazon, you can support the channel by going through my shop, pushing on something, and then buying whatever you want wherever. But this is in my Amazon shop, and I use a sponge that I wet, and I'm just gonna really antique this with this Waverly Antiquing water-based wax. Okay, so let me show you how I do that. This is really easy too, and we'll look at the results and see how great it looks. Here's George, and again, you can see how colorful it is. Now, if you want the color, go ahead, you know, stay with the color if that looks good in your house. I want things to be a little more subdued, and so I'm gonna go ahead and use this, and basically you smear it all over. You can see how it's taking down a lot of the color. And you know, it kind of doesn't even matter how you smear it, but in the end, you kind of want to make sure you don't see a lot of the streak marks. So when you're doing it, the streak marks are okay, but as you're smearing it in, you might want to follow some of the lines of the fabric. On the faces, I usually pat them down. You can see that this is quite a bit dulled. Looks a little old. I'm gonna give it some more. Now you might want to give it a couple coats. Let it dry and give it another coat. I just feel like this is very, very, very bright. And I want it to look like it sat in an old attic for hundreds of years. Because I kind of make my tavern look like it's been in the attic for hundreds of years. So let's go ahead and do the other side. I'm doing my tavern right now in Americana. I do have this available, and I have George and Martha available on my website. And I figure in the early days, in the days of the Colonial Tavern, that was when people got together and talked about strategies for bringing America into independence from Britain, right? And to come as a whole new nation. So I think it's kind of fitting to decorate the tavern right now with that kind of look, because it says 1770s, it says early 1800s, and I'm trying to go as authentic as possible here in the tavern. Just make it look like historic. I want people to walk into this tavern and feel like they've entered history. So, you know, some of the things that are gonna show better is the lighter stuff. But just make sure you kind of follow some of the grain. You know, this is really simulating an old bunch of dirt. You know, this is like we're rubbing in dirt into the area. Now, I'm not gonna want to keep this like this, so I'm gonna go ahead and get a paper towel. But this takes a little while to dry, and because I've used a water base behind it. So we're gonna just rub it in every which way. And this is all up to you, how old you want it to look. It's at your discretion. You can do 3-4 coats if you want. But do you see how this is, excuse me, do you see how this is now a lot more antiqued? It's looking ever so much better. I love it. I still feel like this is very bright. And when I got this canvas in the mail, I thought, wow, that's a whole lot brighter than I thought it was. So I'm taking it down. And also when you put this wax on, you can see the marks from the brush, from the gel, so it looks more authentic. This is what's going to make your canvas that you purchase from me look much more authentic. Okay, I'm not liking the dirt on this black outfit that much, but I'm really liking it on the light stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a paper towel and pat down a little where I don't want it to be too dark. Okay, so I'm just gonna pat it down a little, rub it a little on the face. It rubs off some of those marks where I don't want it to be so obvious that there are marks. I just rub it a little. And that's going to take away some of that look that you rubbed it with the wax. See, it doesn't take that much off, but it takes up some of the streaks. And it's the streaks that are going to be a dead giveaway, because you want it to look natural. Great. I like this so much better. Let's look at it on the wall and see how it looks. Yep. Now see, it's still wet, so since I messed with that, I kind of messed that up. So just take your paper towel and fix it, but I love this. It's just aged a whole lot more. Looks a whole lot more authentic, and it's gonna fit your prim home a whole lot better. Here's my George and Martha, and you can see that I did go ahead and antique them and do my business to them, and I love them. They are beautiful. I love how they look there. All right, I've got another Martha Washington here that I'm gonna show you how I glaze it. This is, sometimes I start with the background, sometimes I start with the picture. But the great thing about this is you can't really screw it up. You want to give it some texture, and you want to follow the lines of the painting as if it was painted that way. Now again, this white is going to disappear, and I use the matte. I don't use the glossy finish on this gel, but you can see how I'm just kind of following the lines of her really funny hat, which I don't think she would like to call it a funny hat, some kind of bonnet. And I've given it some depth, and now I'm going to go into her hair, kind of follow it down. There we go with her hair, like hair would be. Now I am a painter, so that means that it's pretty easy for me to be able to wield the brush and follow the contours. But any of you can do this if you just practice a little bit. Again, you can't really mess up. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is the contours don't go with the picture, but you're not really going to notice. So, you know, around the eyes, hole, eye there, maybe a little on the nostril, a little bit on the lips. All right, fun part. I always think the fun part are the folds in the fabric. Hear that hissing in the background? That's the fire in the fireplace. The wood is wet. All right, and we're just coming along here. You know, it doesn't take me long. Might take you a little longer. Now I'm going to go into this area, kind of follow the chair. Go with some highlights. All right, the background, that you can do however you want to do it. You know, if you want to do it crisscross or swirly or whatever you want to do it, it can go whichever way you feel you want to go with it. I usually go crosswise, but today I'm going to go up and down. Again, that's not going to really matter a whole lot. It's easier for me to go up and down because this is the way I have the camera in the other direction. So now just give it some depth to make it look like someone went over this with a paintbrush. Now, I mean, this was painted originally. This is a print of a photograph of a painting. It's a giclée. It's painted, it's printed on canvas wrap. And now we're going to get to this bodice, this dress, which is probably the most complicated part of this piece. But again, follow the lines around. Start with the easy stuff. You know, we followed the lines around how the bodice would look. Now we've got lace here, so give it some detail on the lace. So we're not going to go in and paint all the detail on here, because that would just be pretty preposterous and no one would really notice. So I'm just going to follow the lines of the fabric, and then I'm going to do some swirly kinds of things on the lace. just to make it look like it had some depth. You want the lace to look like it has some depth. And that's it. There. And then again, make sure you wash this really well with soap and water because your brush will not do well else. It's a bigger number. It's about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch wide. And that's the one that I use for everything. This is a Donna Dewberry one. Do you remember way back in the day when we were all painting these Donna Dewberry flowers? That's what this is from. But I really like this. It's a sable brush. And now some of this, as it dries, it seems to lose some of the texture. So if you want to really reinforce some texture, go back over it and give it another coat where you really want to see some of that sticking up stuff. Now sometimes if you get too big of a ridge with your texturing, it could give you a white line. Like this could turn into a white line or something shiny, but you don't have to worry about that very much because we're going to go over this piece and antique it. Also, you'll see here on the ends there's well, it's a little bit of the ending of the painting that's on there. Sometimes I try to cut that off, but it doesn't always cut off depending on the printer. So that's okay. I'm just going to really darken that with the wax. There. That's it. Again, this is how you glaze. I used heavy gel and it's all gelled down. And now it has to solidify and dry, and that's going to take quite a while. It's on pretty thick, so that could take a good part of the day, and that's okay. As that dries, I will just leave it alone and not mess with it too much, because coming back into the face and just fixing it up a little more. It's looking a little rough to me. All right. Following the contours of the face, just like if you're rubbing lotion on your face, do the same thing with the gel glaze. I think I want a little bit more on the eyebrows. Eyebrows should stand out a little. There we go. Okay. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's going to look fantastic. We'll come back and show you how it looks when I antique it. Okay, here it is finished. You can see there's a lot of detail there. There's aging there. It looks really great. Look at that. That is one beautiful, authentically looking old portrait.